Everybody, what's going on? I am Chris Flowers. I am the executive producer of the Biz Coach Show. And of course, we are here with the founder, the one and only Eric T. Whitmore. What is going on, sir?
Not too much. How are you doing today, Chris?
Oh, just doing fantastic, man. We got Sarah Jesseph on. Other than, college basketball, we're talking about some college basketball offline here. Other than that, she's the broker for Christian Teams Realty. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. So, like I said, we're just getting into some Big Ten, Big East trash talking over here. So, before the show started,
A lot of tension.
All right, let me read you in here. So, Sarah Jesseph is a broker for Christian Teams Realty. She has been working in the real estate industry for 7 years. Sarah knows her neighborhoods and is passionate about helping buyers and sellers. Sarah is originally from Bloomington, Indiana. Go Hoosiers, according to her. But she fell in love with Arizona when she moved here for school in 2015. Along with her team of professional service providers, including stagers, appraisers, inspectors, pool technicians, and general handymen, she navigates every step as your communicative point of contact to ensure an easy transaction from start to finish. Sarah has a special love for historically relevant architecture and interior design. That is all things Sarah.
That's me.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you for joining us today. Excited to have you on the show. It's been a few months now since we initially antagonized you to try and get you on the show. Of course, if I had known you were a Hoosiers fan, then I would have said, yeah, probably not.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have to drop the show for a while. I can stretch this thing out. We can air it in December or something.
But she likes Arizona, so it can't be all bad then.
Yeah,
all right.
I do love Arizona.
So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about your journey in the real estate. What got you interested in real estate? What led you to continue to do it? There's a lot of people, particularly right now, got in at some point not too long ago and are not in it anymore. So, really interested in learning more about kind of what was it that triggered you to want to get into that, and what's really kept you in doing that industry.
Yeah. So I originally started in the industry. I didn't have my license yet, but I was working for a luxury short-term rental company in Scottsdale. I'm not going to name it or anything, but I was working there right out of college, and it was a startup. So I was pretty much doing a little bit of everything. I was in the accounting side a little bit. I was in customer service. I went and did field work, which was kind of setting up all of the properties, because at this time we were managing 100 properties and there were 4 of us out going and turning the properties. We weren't cleaning them, obviously, but keeping up to date on inventory and everything. So I started doing that during COVID. I didn't love the way that this company handled everything that was going on. We were having people that were trying to cancel, and we were being told not to let them cancel. And it was I just wasn't really aligning with the way that they were handling things anymore. So I decided to quit and move home back to Indiana for a couple months, just while I figured out what I was going to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back to school, or I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was kind of lost. I thought about law school. I had considered real estate over the years, like actually producing in real estate. I'd thought about it. My dad always told me I'd be really good at it. But when I was really little, I remember crash, and that just always gave me the idea of it's not a realistic career path, because there's no, it's completely commission based. So there's no guarantee that you're going to get paid. And that really freaked me out. I've always liked structure. And of course, I decided to get my license in the hardest market possible. It could not have been a weirder or worse time. I mean, a lot of people would say that. I think they'd be like, oh, you're doing that like in this market? When I started, there were 4,500 houses on the market in the whole Phoenix metropolitan area. That actually might have been the whole state of Arizona within my multiple listing service. So it was a risk, but I had some savings from my job, and I knew I wanted to be back here and not in Indiana anymore. And after some changes in my family, it was just, I needed to do something, and I didn't really want to take out a student loan. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it. World's ending anyway, because it's 2020. So it's like, this is my opportunity. And I ended up, I moved back here, got my license. I was doing it part-time while I was working at a hair salon. I wasn't doing hair, I was managing. And I just kind of didn't know what I was doing at all. Like nobody does. The brokerage that I was with had pretty good training, but there were a lot of places that I just wasn't getting guidance. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know how to lead generate. Like I was just pretty much lost, but I used a lot of that time to build my social media and start posting, because I knew that when I did start getting clients, that's where they were going to look, was online. And if I had a presence online, that would help me. So yeah, I wasted a lot of time just not knowing what I was doing. And then I ended up meeting my team leader, and he recruited me onto his team. And from there, I, with guidance, learned what it took and was able to start building slowly. And here I am. I've been kind of in the industry for 7 years, but I've been a full-time producing agent for the last 4 now. So
that's awesome. So a couple of things in there that I want to kind of touch on. The first one is the risk that you took, right? Interesting. You made a comment. You said, I was used to structure. Was looking, wasn't necessarily looking for 100% commission. Yet you jumped in both feet. So I got a little bit of savings. I'm going to figure this out. Maybe it was the end of the world. We weren't quite sure at that time, right? So, but I respect that. And ironically, as we had our initial conversations, that was one of the things that resonated with me. You definitely approached the real estate industry differently than most other people that I've talked to that are real estate agents. And I thought that was really commendable. And that was one of the reasons why I thought your story, why I wanted you on the show. You really approach this as hey, this is a business opportunity, right? This is an opportunity for me to build something for myself, to create my own business opportunity within the real estate space. And, whether you fully thought that through, you definitely considered some of the things that you need to factor in, i.e., I'm not going to make money. I need to factor in what that's going to look like. I think too many people get into real estate and think, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money. And typically they do the reverse of what you did. They get in when it's high, when houses are going like hotcakes, and anybody could sell a house. You whether you chose to do it or not intentionally this way, but you got in at definitely one of the absolute bottoms of the market. But I think what that says about you is the commitment to the drive to perform and find a way through. A lot of people would do that, and I think that's absolutely commendable. I'd also add that when you kind of look at that through that lens, one of the important things I think is really key for people to take away from this conversation. Nobody gets into real estate. I say nobody. The vast majority of anybody ever gets into real estate when it's at a trough like it was. And that was probably the worst it's been in 20 plus years, right? That was a pretty significant timing for you. And I bring that up because one of the things that we know in business as a business coach, I spent a lot of times analyzing businesses, and some of the best businesses are built in down economies. They're started because you start lean. You're forced to be lean. You don't have the luxury of having extra resources. So you're forced to be lean. You're challenged, and you find a way to make do with what you have for as long as you can. And then as you build and you cut your teeth and you really kind of build your systems and processes, when the market starts to come back, It's like, oh, and then it compounds on itself because all of that hard work that you put in the beginning to build it up really kind of allowed you to kind of leverage that as the market kind of came back. Not that it's fully come back to where it was, but it's definitely not what it was at that point in time. At least there's inventory now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I want to comment, and I definitely want to dig into this a little bit before we finish today, is the time you spend on social media. Just for clarification's sake, for people on the call, I'm not going to call you out on your age, but are you over or under 35?
I'm under 35. I'm 28.
I didn't want to ask you directly, but it proves my point that there's this ongoing conversation, and I've kind of drawn the line in the sand with clients, and I'm like, look, people under the age of 40 are pretty adept and quick to lean on social media, digital marketing, digital solutions for their business, whereas people over the age of 40, more, and very specifically over 45, are more averse to it. Not everybody, but it seems to be an ongoing trend. But that was one of the first things that you leaned on to begin to build your business, right? And to your point, you weren't doing a whole lot in the beginning, but you figured out, let me figure out this social media thing. You put some time and energy into understanding that. Again, when things were slow and you had ample time to do it, let me figure this out. You didn't throw your hands in the air and say, I don't understand the social media thing. You dug in, you started playing with it, figured, I'm sure you were already posting or whatever, but you decided how to use it as a business tool. And now that's paying you dividends today. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah. And I have a couple of agents to speak on, the older agents. I have friends that are agents that don't want anything to do with social media, and I've helped them with theirs. And that was a way that I was making some additional income when I was first starting. Yeah, because it was something that, there's still a massive gap. I don't have as much time to do that anymore, but I do have a couple of agents that every once in a while they'll have a new listing and they'll ask me to post for it. So that, I think there's a huge space for that. People who are good on social media are doing really well right now in real estate. There are a couple of agents within my brokerage that YouTube has gotten them every listing, and there's some of the biggest teams in Arizona, some of the biggest teams in the US too, are using it. And I think it can really, that's where people are going for their marketing. People don't, from what I've seen, they're not watching TV the way that they are scrolling on social media anymore. And yeah, when it comes to lead generation, it's the best method. You can reach hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people. It's endless. Where, I sit on the phones too, but you can only call one person at a time. You post some things on social media, you're hitting hundreds. Any post that you post will get 200 views at the very least, even if they're not interacting with it. So you never know who you're going to reach with that post, and it's definitely worth it. And there's so many options of things that you can post. I've kind of been on my TikTok, I post content that's related to houses, but I also really like to post content giving other realtors advice. So giving them ideas of, these are the ways that I've been successful doing X, Y, and Z. More recently, I'm doing a challenge for open houses. I'm doing 30 open houses in 30 days. So I'm using that for content.
Yeah, I was going to say you're chronicling on this on social media.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. I love that.
So it's like I'm getting content out of it. But then I'm also able to educate other agents and let them know, hey, this is how I market it. Not that my way is the only way, but this is what I would do. If I was a brand new agent getting into real estate again, this is what I would do. And, one of the things too, our team is recruiting as well. So we're always looking for agents to join, whether they're new agents, whether they're agents that are looking to grow their business and use the leverage that we have on our team. That type of content draws those people in, because that's, they want someone who knows something they don't already know. So,
yeah.
And that's someone who can sing Avril Lavigne in a bathtub.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah. If you want to see that,
look that up on TikTok.
Go follow me. Sold by Sarah J on TikTok.
Nice. Well, I appreciate sharing that because I think that's really valuable for people on the show to hear. I think one of the things that we often have a tendency to do is things that we don't understand, we disregard.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a natural human tendency when there's something that we don't understand or not familiar with, we have a tendency to disregard or avoid, right? It's like, oh, I can't do that, right? I can't do that. That's for other people, right? And I literally have people closer to my age that will say, yeah, I can't figure that. That's for young kids.
I really should, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. We have a rule on here. You're not allowed to say should. Otherwise, you'll just should on yourself, and we don't want that. You don't
want to should on everyone.
You can have that on the camera. Yeah. But that's an important component. I think too many people, particularly people who want to be in a business or do their own business or want to control and dictate. One of the things I learned early on, and I respect this about you, you identified, hey, I'm willing to take a chance on myself. You know, nobody gets into 100% commission opportunity and doesn't, have the hard conversation with themselves internally, however that plays out, that says, I'm willing to bet on myself. And I would venture to say, if the 80-20 principle is accurate, it's probably not even 80-20. It's probably closer to 90-10. I would say that 10% of the people are willing to bet on themselves. And ironically, if you look at all the top income earners that are not CEOs or something like that, that they're almost always business owners. Somebody who started and or in sales, which is another important component, because they're willing to go out there and bet on themselves and say, I can make $300,000 a year doing X, whatever X is, right? But they're willing to bet on themselves, and I think that's a big piece, which goes a long way for small business owners to help them identify, hey, I really got to bet on myself if I'm going to go and do this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, in my industry too, there have been plenty of people on my team who have tried for 2 months, and after that 2 months, it didn't work out, and they're not just leaving my team; they're not doing real estate at all anymore.
Right.
And it's not easy. It's so hard.
Sure.
I mean, it's not easy. There are so many days, less days now, but so many days that I would wake up and be in the middle of a difficult transaction. I'm waking up and I'm like, why am I even doing this to myself? Like, this is so miserable. I'm not having fun. But I mean, really, I think one of the things about me is my mama did not raise a quitter. I have not, even leaving that job where I was so miserable for so long was hard for me, because I was like, well, first of all, I didn't know what I was going to do next, but also I just felt like I was giving up before I was able to make a break. But with it being a startup, it's like, I knew that there was only so high that I could go in that company. I wasn't going to be making, I could work there for 5 or 10 more years. And I just knew that I wasn't going to be making any more than if I went and did something else. And I just wasn't willing to settle for that. And that was one of my big considerations when considering real estate, is it's like, there's huge risk. And I'm not usually, I'm pretty risk averse. Like, I would be on the risk taking side. I'm usually right, in the middle. Like, I'll invest in something, but not everything that I have.
Sure.
So in this case, I think it was like a little bit of my 24-year-old brain, just letting me take that risk. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that I've actually been successful in this thing that I tried out. And it was really because I was too stubborn to quit. Like, I was I did not even, the days that were hard, I was thinking okay, first of all, I don't want to go back to a regular 9-to-5 ever. Second of all, if I quit, how do I tell people? I don't want to, everyone knows me as the realtor. I've run into people at weddings that I haven't seen since high school. And they're like, yeah, you sell real estate, right? Because they see me online. So, and part of me was like, man, I can't just give that up after I've put in so much legwork. And then once I finally hit my stride, it was unquestionably, I don't want to do anything else. I want to use this to leverage me into passive income opportunities and investing in my own properties and everything like that. So we're getting to that point now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing that, because I think that the truth of the matter is that unfortunately we need more people that think like that. We need more people that are willing to take a gamble on themselves, that are willing to. And what's interesting. You said it's a huge risk. I might argue that. I might challenge you on that a little bit, because here's what I look at. You didn't borrow any money.
Yeah.
You don't have any outstanding debt. You even said you opted to do real estate over taking on a student loan.
Well, I already have a student loan, but
okay,
taking out more of a student loan.
Yeah, because you'd mentioned law school, and I'm thinking that's a pretty big student loan there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But my point is that what I'm getting at is that if it didn't work out, to your point, you can walk away, and at least you're not hundreds of thousands or millions in debt or something like that.
True. Right? Very true.
It didn't work out. It didn't work out. But what I love is the drive and ambition to say, no, I can't go out like that. I'm not going out like that. Right. And so that drive and determination, that grit, and that's huge. And it says a lot about your character. I think that, anybody who's listening to this that would consider using your services, I would hear that and be like, that's the realtor I'm going to work with.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I want the person that's not going to quit. I mean, I'm not placating you. I'm like, literally, it's that that's my attitude. It's my
not afraid of the tough sell, not afraid of the tough market.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's roll.
Yeah. I think back to the first house my wife and I bought back in 2003 here in Phoenix. And, it was a $220,000 house back then. And I remember it was a big deal. It was like, I remember my dad went with us and helped us, find the house. And we looked at 15 houses that day. And I remember we put the offer in, and I had just read a book on real estate investing. Actually, I had read multiple books at real estate investing. And we're in a position where we finally decide we're ready to buy it. And I got to share this because I think it's really relevant. When we did the deal and we decided that was the house we want, it was like, okay, this is the one. We're putting an offer in. We told the agent, okay, we're gonna put an offer before we even leave the house today. We're gonna put an offer in. We put the offer in, and I said that I wanted them to do a number, and I had a list of like 15 things. Mm-hmm. So I was that guy, right? I want him to keep the refrigerator. I want him to keep the basketball hoop. I want him to, it's like I was like listed off all these things. The grill that they had in the backyard, it matched the decor and everything. It was around the grill, the stones and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, well, I don't know that they're going to do all that. I'm like, well, I didn't ask you if you thought they were going to do it. I'm asking
you're going to go ask them.
You're going to put it in the offer letter. That's what you're going to do. And she literally challenged me. She's like, well, this is kind of a, it's kind of a seller's market. I don't know that they're going to, and there were some repairs that were necessary, and all this kind of stuff. And I say necessary, there were repairs that we were hoping to get. They weren't really important repairs, but they were like cosmetic. And I'm like, I need a move in. I need a simple move in. I don't want to have to do a bunch of work before we move in. And so she pushed back, and I challenged her. And I'm like, I didn't really ask for your opinion on this. Is what I would like. And I literally forced her to put all these things in there. And so at the end of the day, and this is what I know about negotiation, you put more points in there than you actually want, so that you have things that you can concede on, right? And so we asked for 15 things. We got 9.
Better than 0.
Right? I wouldn't have gotten any of those if I hadn't asked. And there were 2 or 3
if you didn't insist, not ask, insist.
Yeah.
Well, and there were 2 or 3 things that we would have liked to have had that we didn't get, but we were okay giving up on that because there was 2 or 3 other things that we really wanted that were more important. And so ironically, in the grand scheme of things, is like a good real estate agent would understand what I was, or at least ask me what I was going for, but I got frustrated. I didn't really ask. I'm not telling you this is what I want. So anyway, I just say that because I think that it's important. A lot of people, and it was in a market, like I said, it was a market where, and then afterwards, what really rubbed me, and I remember having this conversation with my wife, and why she's in the real estate industry today, is we had that conversation, and I looked at the commission she got, and I'm like, for what?
Right.
Yeah. I know it's a sensitive topic today with everything going on with commission splits and all that kind of stuff, but it was like, I want to say in that day and age, it was like $6,600 is what was paid to the broker. And if I remember correctly, she was on a 90-10 plan. And, so she made a nice chunk of money. And I'm like, she didn't do a ton of work. I mean, she wrote an offer letter that I had to walk her through. And we basically negotiated the deal, right? She didn't really play any role in that. And anyway, I say all of that to say that at the end of the day, if you're going to take that on as a profession, be the professional. Understand your role in what you're doing, and
rep your client.
If you're there to guide me, right? That's one thing. But she was combative with me.
Yeah,
I was like, I honestly
must have done something to really irk her.
I think what it was is she was worried about getting the commission. I think that she was, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I think that she was almost like, I hadn't sold anything in a while. As a matter of fact, I remember later my wife went back and looked at the sales records, and she hadn't sold in like 6 months or something.
A little bit of desperation there.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, don't mess with it. Just let it go through. And I'm like, yeah, but this is my one time, right? I might not buy a house for another 30 years. No, I'm going to get what I want out of this, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I say that to say that, as an agent, if you're getting this as a profession, treat it as a profession, not as a passive, like a part-time income opportunity. And I think, unfortunately, there was 6 years ago, was 3 million licensed realtors in the United States, or real estate professionals. I'm going to say there's a third of that probably today.
Yep.
At least active anyway. And active is probably less than that.
A lot of people have exited.
Yeah. So, but I give you a lot of kudos. I mean, it takes a lot of heart and determination and grit to really kind of push through in an industry, particularly the way that it is. So tell us a little bit more about your through this trek, moving through what you do. Share with us some of the things that you've learned. Maybe give us 2 or 3 things that you really learned in the last 4 years, and you went full time that have really paid good dividends for you.
Oh man. I mean, really every single transaction you learn something. And I think when I was first starting, like your real estate school does not teach you what you're going to be experiencing day to day. So
right.
I really didn't know what I didn't know. And having a wide range of clients and just different types of people. I've had clients who are very easygoing and they're like, whatever you say, I trust you. And then I have other clients who are like this
me.
Is how you, just like you. Sounds like you. But really, I those people who know what they want, and they almost, sometimes I can read when someone wants to direct the show and just kind of use me as like, it sounds silly, but use me as like a puppet to do so. And
conduit.
Yeah, conduit. Yeah, we'll say that. That's a nicer way to say it. But like I've had, situations where I'm just telling them this is how we're doing it, this is what we do. But then there are the people who would rather kind of direct things. And I've learned a lot about communicating with people. And funny enough, when I was working at the hair salon prior to this, I was managing, and a hair salon has a lot of different personalities working in the same place. You have a lot of people working there with big personalities. You have a lot of different clients who come in with different expectations. This was in Kierland in Scottsdale. So
lots of big personalities.
Yeah.
You can imagine some of the people that I was dealing with up there.
Right.
And so I learned a lot about patience then that I apply in real estate. And it's hard to even pinpoint just one situation where I've learned something, but the biggest thing is just communicating and being flexible and meeting your clients where they are, because I treat everyone with the exact same level of care and attention, but not everyone wants the hand holding. I also have realized that in just every transaction, every client that I've helped, I always do a presentation for them, regardless of whether they are experienced. Like if they're a buyer, if they've bought 5 houses, I'm still doing a presentation for them, going through the whole process. Just those little extra things, providing value, I have realized set me apart from other agents who, meet with someone the first time when they're at the house. And there are some circumstances where that is just how it happens. You meet someone at an open house, they want to go see the house next door. Like that happens as well. But I really make an effort, like you were talking about, to be a professional and go through those steps and make sure that they're completely comfortable. They understand what escrow is. That way, when it comes time to deposit their earnest money, they're not like, what's earnest money?
Right.
So there's, a lot that can be said, and that makes the transaction a lot easier by just setting expectations up front. So communicating and setting expectations have been really big, and something that I didn't always think about when I first started.
Sure.
I thought about it, but I didn't know what I was doing either. So
right. Yeah. Well, and I think what, one of the things you kind of hit on is that when you learn through those experiences, right, there, you either have a success or you learn from it, right? And when you have an opportunity to learn, and I'm going to venture to say that you yourself, based on what I know about you, learn regardless of whether you have a success or if you have a setback. You learn from both scenarios, right? Because you're assessing what could I have done better. That was one of the things that in our conversations that I remember resonating with me, is that you're constantly analyzing, well, how could I have done this better? What could I have done better? And because of that, that's why you're constantly upping your game. That's why, you're hearing from others that, you do things that nobody else does. The reason you're hearing that is because you treat this as your profession, as you really care about what you do and who you serve. And I think there's a big piece of that. Interestingly enough, you're familiar with some of the people that I work with, and they're financial advisors. And one of the exercises we go through is what we call developing your market dominating position. A lot of people notice their unique selling proposition. So, what is it that makes you different than everyone else? And so one of their exercises is to reach out their existing client base and say, hey, I really appreciate your business, blah, 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 blah. Just out of curiosity, I'm doing some research. Would you share with me a couple of reasons why you enjoy doing business with me? And far and away in both of their scenarios, what a lot of their feedback was, like well more than 50%, you answer the phone when I call. And so how crazy is that for a financial planner, financial advisor to hear from them? I'm just happy when you answer your call, because my previous experience, that didn't happen.
Yep.
You'd imagine when somebody's doing the biggest purchase of their entire life, right? And they can't get their real estate agent to answer the phone on a consistent basis to move them through this transaction and make them feel good about the decision and everything that goes into that emotional portion of that process of purchasing a home. You've got to be the person that goes above and beyond. And you mentioned communication multiple times. I think that's a big factor.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to me, because even in my experience of, like, I reach out, an agent shows my listing, I reach out to ask them for feedback and they never get back to me. Or I reach out and I ask a listing agent a question and they never get back to me. And then I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I'm reaching out on behalf of my client. My client's like, why can't she get a hold of them? Because, it's another real estate agent. Like, is she actually reaching out to them? Yeah, it's really shocking. There are a lot of people that don't answer their phones, or even if you can't answer the phone, send a quick text message that says, hey, I can't make it. let me call you when I get out of this meeting, or whatever that, situation is. But yeah, I think that some of the best feedback that I get from my clients is the communication point of, I'm available. And sometimes I need to practice setting boundaries with some of my clients, because I'm available. And so I get texts at 10 p.m. and, bothered and stuff. But overall, I mean, that really does, the excellent customer service, especially my clients that are a little older. I would say any client over the age of 60, I'm the best realtor they've ever worked with, because I get back with them, or I answer the phone whenever they call and they have nothing but nice things to say. And for me, that's kind of bare minimum. That's my job. I'm like, I want to keep a client, so I'm going to reach out to them. And it's just, I don't know. It's funny how that isn't the standard for everyone. I wish it was, because it'd make the whole environment a lot better. And I think agents do get a bad rep sometimes because of that type of behavior. And
No, you don't want them all to be like you. You want to be able to shine. Let them all stay.
That's true.
Down here. No, that's what sets you apart.
That is
Easier
true.
for you to stand out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's true. Or they could just like leave the industry and make it easier for everyone.
They
And
could do that too.
I'm not saying that in a nasty way. Just truly, it would be so much better if I could just quickly text someone or give someone a call and they answer me immediately. But yeah, I don't know. And I understand people have lives, so that's.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm
to your point. I mean, just because I'm busy with my family doesn't mean I can't send you a quick text and say, "Hey, Sarah, appreciate you reaching out. Sorry, I'm not available today, but I can call you back tomorrow. Would that work?"
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
Professional courtesy. Right. Yep. Unlike the guy that you text and he doesn't answer you ever. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what's really crazy is it's just people like Eric Whitmore. He just
one time. All right, maybe twice.
More than once.
Maybe twice.
Well, Eric, don't plan on setting any of those boundaries for me because I like texting you at like 5.
Yeah, I know. He'll text me at 4 in the morning. He'll text me at 2 in the morning. He'll text me at 10:30 at night.
Sometimes you just got to get whatever you're thinking about off your chest.
That's
just gotta
I'm
do
the
it.
same way. I know I've answered your messages at 5 in the morning at times. So okay, that brings me to another important question: your why. Either why do you do what you do? I don't think that it was a lot of. I mean, I know. Actually, let me ask you this. I think I have a 2-part question. What was your why when you decided to make the leap? What was the gnawing thing that said, "I'm going to take this chance and do this"? What was that? What was that? And then, why do you continue to do what you do today? And why do you see this as an important, integral part of your life in the relatively near future?
Yeah. I love this question. It's such a difficult question because I don't have just one why. And, when I first started, it was probably more related to money because I was delusional.
Most of us are when you're younger like that. Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
You were uneducated at the time. Uneducated at the time.
Right out of the gate. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, my relationships with people and my friendships are paramount just in general for me. Like that is everything that I do for the people that I love and care about. And part of that also is I want time and I want more time back. And again, there was a little bit of delusion when I first started thinking like, oh, I'll have a job where I can just go do whatever I want because I'm not working a 9 to 5 when really I work like, 90-hour weeks and it's like, you're not resting.
You're always on.
Yeah. Always on like, getting, like I just said, those 10 p.m. text messages. But I really wanted to create a life for myself that allowed me to spend time with those people that I care about and also give me the freedom to give me the freedom financially and also just like I said, time wise to be able to spend with them. But I also I think now the reason that I've stayed is so in end of 2023, my mom got really sick, like did not think she was going to live. She was like, we couldn't get a correct diagnosis for her. It was really bad. It was months of just not knowing what was going on. She's constantly sick, constantly getting worse, where she's in and out of the hospital, no answers. And I ended up flying back to Indiana for a couple months to be with her and be the mean bad cop at the hospital when she wasn't being listened to. And I'm not a mean person, as you could probably tell. That doesn't come naturally, but when it comes to somebody that I love, I can turn it on pretty quickly. But during that time, it was like this weird shift in my business from everything before that had been me pursuing business and kind of trying to find the next client and stressing out about what was next in my pipeline. And somehow it was like a flip switched. As soon as I went and I was taking care of my mom, the business started coming to me. And it was people I wasn't expecting to purchase, people who were buying second homes that I just sold another home to, or not sold them, helped them buy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just crazy because it just started kind of coming my way. And during this time of like, what am I actually doing? I'm trying to take care of my mom, but I don't have time. I'm self-employed and like, I have to run my business. Like,
Right.
What am I going to do? It just kind of started to take off on its own. And not that I wasn't still putting in ridiculous hours, because I was, but I wasn't having to chase it the same way. And since then, it's crazy because it's just continued. My mom ended up moving out here and going to the Mayo Clinic, and they got diagnosed her and saved her life. It's insane to think about it, because this time last year she was in a wheelchair because of how bad her illness was. And now she's living a pretty much normal life and getting back to everything as is. But had I been working for someone else, I wouldn't have been able to take all that time off and advocate for her.
Right.
And why real estate? Because it just, I don't know, it just kept going while I was away. And that's not always going to be the case, but I really shifted my mindset. Like that whole time I was trying to be relentlessly positive without, driving myself crazy. And that shifted my mindset of, wow, business is coming to me. And just still even now I'm like, wow, business keeps coming to me. It's weird because it does. It really has been. It's like nothing is slowed down. I had the busiest start to this year. I did not anticipate it. I was like, oh, I'll have a, pretty good year. I've got stuff stacked up, but it really just has continued. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunities that's provided for me. And I still haven't gotten my time back yet. But I know that the more money that I can make now and the more effort that I'm putting in now, the more freedom I'll have later. And it's not going to be the same freedom I'd have later if I was, working and had a pension or 401k. Like this is something I can make long-term passive income on without having to do legwork until I'm 60. But I might still be doing this, or older than that. That wasn't very old, but 60, 70, probably 75, 80 now is the retirement age. But
yeah, well, I guess that kind of depends on how much money you put aside and how well you were saving up for retirement.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah.
I don't, I don't anticipate that I'm going to want to stop working because I love what I do right now. But knowing that I can set myself up for later is good for me.
Yeah.
I just makes me feel comforted. So.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. And first of all, I'm sorry to hear about what you went through with your mother, but
yeah,
a phenomenal story. Glad to hear that she's doing better now and she's feeling better. That's amazing. And kudos to you for dropping and going home to take care of mom. That's what I think the in my eyes, or at least for the context of the show, what the real story is that you had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Right. To your point, if you were working for a job and you had to ask for 4 months off, if they gave it to you off, all they could guarantee is that you could come back to a job. No guarantee it'd be the job that you had. And not every, and like in Arizona, I don't remember I don't know the laws as well as I did at one time, but I don't know that they'd have to make that concession for you. I mean, they could choose to.
They probably wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, even if they did, it would be, even then you're out of income.
Yeah.
Right. Most people, most companies, unless you're a super big company, they don't have, you wouldn't even qualify for short-term disability. So you would have no options.
Yeah. I mean, they don't even give maternity leave for that long. So
yeah. Well, unless you're in California, you get 4.5 months in California. But yeah, I mean, that's and to have the ability to be able to do that. And, oh, by the way, still be able to conduct business while you're doing it. Right. And be able to be present at that time? Because heaven forbid something bad had happened. How guilty would you have felt if you weren't there?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Went through that
And
with
I'm
my wife when her mother she had actually moved in, came to live with us because she had Alzheimer's, and if my wife had not been able to give that time, and it was a year and a half of significant commitment, right? But I can totally appreciate it. I didn't personally live it. I mean, I did. She was in my house, but I didn't. My wife was the caregiver, and it was a strain. So I can only imagine, and while she still held down her job, but when you have a business that you've built. And I would argue that the reason that the business was coming to you is you've been grinding as hard as you were leading up to that point, right? And if you were just kind of going through the motions, guarantee you're not getting that business while you're out for that period of time.
Yeah.
Right? Or at least it wouldn't have been easy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really grateful. I mean, the clients that I had during that time were so understanding too. And I'm not the type who just hands off, like, I can't do this anymore. But I did work with some really great people that, like, for example, the lenders that I was working with on my transactions, the title companies, I mean, they were all, and other agents as well. I really got so lucky to work with other agents and other people in the industry that were able to, like, kind of pick up any slack that which I don't like dropping anything for anyone to do. So, but they all really understood the situation I was in. So very, very grateful for that. And my team as well. Like, I would not have been able to do it without the understanding of my team and the help from them and just the constant support and checking in. So that really, it's like something I will never forget.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right. And I appreciate that. Let me pivot there a little bit, because you mentioned that, and it's something I wanted to touch on. Tell us the value of being with the team you're with today. I know that you went through a couple of situations. You referenced it earlier. Less than desirable circumstances, didn't quite play out the way you intended to. Seemed to be quite happier. I know in the conversations we had, you had some good things to say about the team you're with today. Tell us a little bit about that. First of all, tell us what you appreciate about the team that you work with, the leadership, and as well as the people, your peers. But then also give us some insight into how much this new relationship has allowed you to grow in your current role.
Yeah. So where to start? So my team is awesome in terms of leverage. That was really when I was first starting. I mean, like I said, you don't know what you don't know. And it started out where I was being coached on how to do everything. They're teaching you how to call expireds, how to call for sale by owners. You get a script book. We're practicing scripts every single morning. And we have accountability calls, first thing in the morning. Mine, unfortunately, is at 7 a.m., but at 7 in the morning, I'm on that call and I'm talking about what I'm grateful for. We all go through, the whole team, 3 things you're grateful for. And one of those is who you're grateful for on the team that day for whatever reason, how they helped you, how they supported you. And then after that, we're practicing scripts. I've been pretty much running scripts now for the newer agents. So whatever they're calling that week, we have different online lead sources, everything. But that's the second thing we're doing. And then we're on the phones from usually either 8 to 11, 9 to 12. And then in the afternoon, we're in appointments. And we have private coaching as well, which is awesome. So I have a top producer on my team coaches me. She's also one of my very good friends. So that's a great relationship to have. And then my team leader as well, I talk to him on the phone all the time. We talk about the same way that you and I do, Eric, where it's just like, doesn't stop. We could sit and talk for 5 hours on the phone. And he gives me so many great ideas and really supports he supports everything that I want to do. He was incredibly supportive when it was happening with my mom. When everything was happening, it's like I had this deep anxiety of what happens if they decide that they don't want me on the team anymore because I'm not doing what I was doing before, because I'm not waking up and making those calls every single day like I was. But they supported me and understood that I needed what I needed in that moment.
Right.
And it was definitely hard to get back into that disciplined structure when my mom started to get better, because my business was still thriving, or had just continued to grow during that time. But they were very patient with me, and I was just so grateful for that. And then on now that I'm kind of more into the leverage side of things, we have like a full-time marketing guy. He posts some social media stuff for me. So he helps advertise for open houses, my new listings, what goes pending, my closed, and just posts links to our website and promotes everything on different websites. And then he's a magician. You could ask him to do anything and he will just take care of it. You'll have it in 30 minutes. It's great. And then I have a personal assistant as well. And she's also awesome. She manages my email, which it's really hard for me to be hands off on anything. So compared to some of the other people on the team, I'm like, it takes a lot for me to ask her to do things that I can do.
So you're a control freak is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but just because
she's a control enthusiast. And a control
there we go.
enthusiast.
Yes. Yeah. Good language. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, because I know the result that I produce. And so I just want to make sure that is like the same thing that's being sent out under my name, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So, when I first started working with her, that was really challenging because I'm like, I should ask her to do this, but the process of explaining how to do it just takes a long time. But no, she's awesome. As soon as I've explained something to her, she knows how to do it. And I need to continue to let my hands off of those things and have her help me with them. And then, we have full-time recruiters on the team too. So there's a lot going on. We're constantly trying to grow. And we have transaction managers. So on top of having my personal assistant, I have someone who, well, she's not necessarily my personal assistant. She's doing work stuff, but we have a transaction manager. So he gets everything to compliance with the title company. It's all stuff that I know how to do, but it's so much easier for him to just take care of it. So that's been super helpful. And there are a lot of other teams that I looked into that have one or a couple of those things included but there are not a lot that have everything. So, so that's what I love that about my team. I can't remember what the second part of your question was.
Well, and I think you kind of answered it. But the overarching question was, so what I'm hearing you say basically is it's great to have a team and everybody has their role on the team and everybody knows what their role is on the team and they do their jobs. Mm-hmm. And, everything just kind of operates. And then you kind of alluded to the leadership and having the accountability calls, having somebody guide you through those expectations, challenge you when you need to be challenged, push you when you need to be pushed. Right. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, be there to pick you up when you're having a tough day. Right. And if necessary, call you out and tell you to pull up your big girl panties and get back in the game. Right. So it's but I bring that up to reference, and I think this is really important that a lot of people lose sight of. For a period of time, I did insurance sales, and it ended up being an organization that I didn't necessarily align with. But I think what was important, I didn't see that. It was very much the hustle mentality. It was push, push, push. It was sell, sell, sell. The support was okay at best. Leadership was okay, but it was only reserved for certain people and only for the performers. And if you're cutting your teeth and it's like, good luck. Here you go. Here's your list of leads. Good luck. Let us know if you need any help. And if you needed help, it was like, go over to that class and you'll learn about this stuff over there. There was no guidance. There was no specific, it's like if you had the better leaders of the group, you probably did a little bit better than the average. But it sounds like your team is very much built on, a structure, a system that everybody plugs into and knows their role. And I think that's important because I think one of the things that people, when they go to start their own business, whether you're real estate or some other business, one of the problems that a lot of people have is if they're willing to do what you did, which is take a chance on yourself. And if they're willing to take that risk, right, and go out there and I'm going to eat what I kill, so to speak, right, and live on whatever I can sell or whatever that looks like. And if I'm willing to do, all these other things that it takes to go out there and put in the hard work and put in the hours and do all that kind of stuff, without the right guidance, you could still fail.
Yeah.
Because, one of the things you alluded to is you had the drive, you had the tenacity, you had the ambition, but until you got the guidance, things didn't start clicking for you.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of instances, like you asked me earlier what some of my lessons that I've learned are, and, all of those challenges or those things that I had to overcome when I was first starting, I was calling my team leader and being like, hey, how would you handle this? And, learning from him and others, mostly him and my coach, Beth, as well. It was like anything that I came across, he was able to help me with and steer me in the right direction without just, figuring it out for me. He'd be like, okay, this is what I would do. There were some instances where he's like, call them and say this. And sometimes those were really hard conversations that I did not want to have. I've had some very difficult, very, very difficult ones. But it always worked out. And now I have the confidence to help other people in the same way. We have other new agents and I'm the one telling them the script, which is awesome, because there was a point where I never could have seen myself being confident enough. I guess I've always had the confidence, but I was always afraid that I didn't know what to say or that I'd say it wrong. And now I'm telling other people I'm like, okay, this is what I would say. This is how I would do that differently. And it's just really cool to be able to see so explicitly how I've grown over the last couple years. Even just year over year, things change so much for me. So it is really neat. And I would not have been able to even start. There would have been no catalyst if it weren't for them helping me. So
yeah, that's amazing. Well, I will tell you this. I know a lot of people in the real estate space. I will tell you that I've known people that have been in this space for 10 and 15 years that don't have the structure, style, attitude that you display after doing it for 4 years full time.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, it's and that's again, it's a testament to why I wanted you on the show. I thought you had a great story, and I think there's a lot to be said about that drive and ambition. And like I said, and then it kind of came to fruition when you found the right team, you plugged into the right organization with the right kind of leadership, and were given the guidance and that you really needed to kind of make the next level. And then you've taken it, right? You've taken, and now the students become the teacher. And now you're in that role, and I see you gearing up for that next level. So with that, let's kind of finish out the call with this. What's next for you? I heard you reference some investment opportunities. I heard you, discuss it, but if, give me some bold visions. Where do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah. So my immediate this year, one of my goals is to buy a home. I want to buy an investment property, and I haven't planned exactly what that's going to look like because I'm just still working that out, but that is one of my goals in the next year or two. I am also working with my coach, Beth, on taking a team leader role here in Arizona. So kind of being a mentor more than just, every once in a while and, when they want to reach out to me, but being a mentor on the team. And I don't think I know everything, and I recognize I don't know everything, but I would really like to help others grow, because I know when you're a new agent, how isolating it can feel, and how if you don't have the direction and you don't feel like, you have to be a self-starter regardless, but having someone who can back you and support you and help you through those difficult times and conversations is really important. And I would love to be that for other people. So that's something that I have a goal of as well. And yeah, I mean, ultimately one of the things, I know you said we're finishing up, but one of the things that I did a lot when I was a new agent is I would be watching other people's content and I'd be like, man, I wish I could be like them. I wish that I could do this. And I have slowed down on comparing myself to other people, but one of the things that I always, I've been in situations where somebody doesn't hire me because I am not old enough. That's very rarely happened, but it has happened. And I look at that as a benefit, because if I'm here now and I'm not at my max, I'm still in my 20s, I know that like I'm nowhere near my max potential. But if I'm here in my 20s and there are people who have been doing this for 10 plus years, where will I be when I'm then, if I just keep doing what I'm doing? So I really just have that mentality of I want to visualize myself in my late 30s and 40s, just what can I accomplish? It could really be anything. So I don't have a set goal of this is what I want to be doing, but I do know that I want to just continue growing my business and see where how I can be when I hit that mark of 10 or 15 years and I'm watching those people who've been doing this forever. Like if I can be when I'll be where they are in their businesses.
That's awesome. I love it. I like to catch on the phrasing too.
Yeah, I really try not to do that. Like I told you,
right.
the positive speaking, positive talking about myself. This might annoy people, but I don't really care. I think it's I don't talk poorly of myself. Even when I'm joking, I would rather make a joke that makes me look like I have an ego, like emphasis on it being a joke, than a self-deprecating joke, because those aren't funny to me. I don't want to see other people call themselves mean things, but it also, the self-talk makes a big difference. So I really try to keep with that positive when, not if. I'm
Right.
not doing any buts, I'm doing ands. So
Nice. I love it. Yeah, that cost me a lot of money, by the way.
what's
with
oh yeah. I bet.
Yeah, I think I was like, I'm pretty sure it was pushing $100 by the time I was done with 60-day challenge.
I haven't even done that yet. So
oh well, then you're going to be a leg up on me, because I can tell you I couldn't stop it. It was just inherent, just wired. Anyway, well, I appreciate that. That's amazing. I'm excited for you and the opportunities in front of you. The one thing I mentioned it I mentally thought of it earlier, but your emotional intelligence is quite high. I mean, you definitely identify, you read people well. I think that's another thing that really serves you in the role that you play, both as an agent and now moving into a leadership role. Because the more that you can identify the people and kind of what's important to them. We did it in sales training in the early days, and I'm going back 20, 25 years ago. We did the DISC analysis and the identify personality assessments, right? And when I understood what other people, how they chose to communicate or preferred to communicate, right? Whether they knew it consciously or subconsciously, I could identify in them that was how they like to communicate. It allowed me to then approach them in a way that made them feel good, right? And in sales, that's key, right? You should be able to read and understand people. It's not about selling somebody. It's about helping them identify, help you identifying for them how they like to be communicated to.
Yep.
And it completely changes the dynamics in that environment. And it's necessary both in a customer service role, a sales role. It's also really important in a leadership role. How people want to be communicated to is probably that much more important in a leadership role, because
totally.
And so there's so much that goes into that. And I think you got so many talents and so many opportunities in front of you to really kind of leverage that as you look at where you want to go next.
Thank you. Yeah, we use the DISC analysis as well. So, which I will say, I'm a sleeper. You probably wouldn't know what I'm a high S, which is very surprising.
Yeah.
But it presents really low. Like my what is it? Like the face
adapted. Yeah, what you put out there, and then you're adapted. You're natural, and you're adapted.
Yeah, my adaptive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my it's up here, and then my adaptive is down here. So people don't know that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because to your point, I wouldn't have identified that. I would definitely said you're more of an I.
Yeah,
What's your
high
second highest?
So I'm an SID. They're almost all pretty even, and then just like almost all like it's barely different.
And then your C is much lower.
Say again.
Your C is much lower below the midline.
No, they're all pretty even. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Now that's That's unique.
Maybe a little neuro diverse. I'm just different.
You're just special.
Well,
You're just special.
You do sing in tubs, so yeah, that is a little different.
Yeah, that's true. Any normal person wouldn't do that, probably.
Well, anything for TikTok views, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't get as many as I expected.
Oh, I'd be really upset about that then.
Yeah, maybe it's just taking a while and it'll go viral.
There you go. I'll hold out for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Got to do a Gaga song rather than Avril Lavigne or something like that.
Yeah, I need to do something a little bit more popular, maybe like more recent. But I'll take you guys to the top with me.
Don't let us anchor you down. Come on, you're a shooting star over here.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on today. Great to learn more about you, and excited, like I said, about your opportunities. You want to let people know the best way to get a hold of you if they're interested in working with you?
So I'm on social media. It's at Sold by Sarah J everywhere. And then Sarah Christine Jesseph on Facebook, and all of my information is on there for phone number and email and everything.
And it'll be in the show notes as well too. So
awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on here. It's great talking to you.
Yeah, great conversation. And like I said, just love what you're doing. And I think it's important for more young people to hear these success stories of people that are out there carving their niche and figuring out what they're going to do. And even when you don't know exactly what you're going to do, just going out there and going for it and figuring your way through it is very compelling. And I love that story. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think the story transcends all age gaps.
Oh, absolutely.
That's true. Yeah. Do it whenever. But your 20s, that's the best time to make some risks like this.
Yeah. You're going to take a risk. You're going to grind. Do it in your 20s when you have less responsibility. That's for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.